Come close and listen. I'm going to tell you a story, one that feels like it's etched into the very bones of the world. It's a parable, really, about a god, his creation, and, well, the terrible price of progress. This is Wotan's Echo.
You know this ancient bit of wisdom? It's really the key to our whole story. It gets at a painful but absolutely essential truth. For new life to flourish, the old stuff often has to be swept away. And this is a story about exactly that, a divine and deliberate act of ruin. So before all the ruin, there was order, an age of just immense power and unshakable structure. And it all flowed from a single divine source. This was the Age of Runes, a world held in a perfect but ultimately static balance. Right at the center of this whole cosmos was Wotan, the All-Father. Now, he wasn't just a ruler, he was the architect. His will was like the gravity that held the stars in place. His thoughts were the very laws that governed life and death. You see, the world was a perfect reflection of his divine, unbending design.
And Wotan's spear, you have to understand, this was no common weapon. Not at all. It was more like the constitution of reality itself. Carved right into its shaft were the ancient runes. These were the binding contracts, the sacred laws, the absolute truths that gave the world its shape and meaning. That spear was order made manifest.
But a shadow started to grow right in the heart of this perfect order. The very strength of Wotan's creation, its unbending law, was slowly becoming its greatest weakness. It was like the world had just stopped breathing.
The system Wotan built was, well, it was too perfect, so complete that it left absolutely no room for change. It stopped any real advancement because every path was already paved, and this led to a slow, creeping spiritual decay. A world without struggle, you see, is a world without growth. And so the people, and even the gods, they just fell into this complacent inactivity. Their fire just dimmed inside the safety of their perfect cage.
So the very laws that were etched to protect and structure the world, they had become its prison. The runes that once lit the way forward were now walls, blocking any sight of the horizon. The world was safe, sure, but it was also trapped. It was suffocating under the weight of its own certainty.
And this really brings us to the heart of Wotan's problem. What do you do? What happens when the very foundations you built to hold up the world are now the very things crushing the life out of it?
So Wotan, the great architect, he looked upon his perfect, dying world, and he understood a terrible truth. To save it, he, the creator, would have to become the destroyer. He was facing an agonizing choice, probably the greatest a creator can ever face.
Okay, so look at his options. On one hand, he could preserve his order, maintain his divine authority, keep the stable, predictable world he had built. But on the other, he could unleash the future. He could sacrifice his own power to allow for spiritual growth, shatter his own laws to pave the way for a brand new era, and even embrace chaos just to allow for that fruitful struggle that really gives life its meaning.
And Wotan chose the future. He made the conscious, profound decision to will his own end. Now, this was not him admitting defeat. No way. This was an act of ultimate strength and sacrifice, a god intentionally dismantling his own power for the sake of life itself.
As the Chronicles remind us, no structure, it doesn't matter how divine, can stand against the current of evolution forever. And Wotan didn't fight this cosmic law. He embraced it. He chose to become its very instrument.
And so, we come to the climax of our story. The moment of beautiful, terrible change, the breaking of the old world, the shattering of the spear.
In this moment, Wotan wasn't a king trying to preserve his reign anymore. He became something else entirely. He became a destructive catalyst, the necessary friction required to spark the fire of a whole new age.
To shatter a law of cosmic scale, you need an equal and opposite force, a force of pure potential, one that isn't bound by the runes of the past. And that force came in the form of a new hero, Siegfried, who embodied a will that the old laws just couldn't contain.
When Siegfried's blade met Wotan's spear, the sound, it wasn't wood or metal breaking, it was the sound of an age ending. It was reality itself fracturing. And with that one single crack, the runes that held the cosmos in its rigid shape were made powerless. The laws were broken, the prison walls just fell.
And from the dust of that fallen order, a new light began to rise. A world without pre-written laws, a world of choice and consequence, of struggle and triumph. This was the dawn of a new hero and a whole new kind of world.
So you see the shift? We move from Wotan's world of rigid laws and stagnation that comes from order to Siegfried's world of unbound potential. It's no longer a static system, but a dynamic journey. This is progress, born from a radical, necessary change.
It is so important to see that Wotan was not the villain of this story. He was a necessary force. This whole parable isn't about good defeating evil. It's about an old, essential order giving way to a new, essential freedom.
And Siegfried, he is the symbol of this new freedom. He is the living embodiment of a future where your path isn't decided for you by ancient runes, but it's forged by your will and your actions. He is the potential that Wotan's sacrifice finally unlocked.
Wotan's tragic choice was actually an act of profound purpose. According to the myth, by destroying his own perfect world, he ensured that its spirit wouldn't die. Instead, it would continue its journey, struggling, learning, and evolving towards something even greater.
And so, we're left with this echo, a question that rings through the ages, right into our own time. At what point do the systems that give our world order become a cage? And what does it take to break free? Must all order be destroyed just to make way for progress?